Travis Bell is often known as the bucket list guy. He spends most of his time traveling the world, inspiring people, motivating people, helping them embracing parts of their life that they might have neglected in the past. Today we're going to be talking about how to take the bucket list mindset and incorporating it into the way that you run your business and your life. A lot of people think that running a business is a little bit scary. They struggle to build a personal brand. They also sometimes find it a challenge to make their business mirror and reflect their own personal values. Right now, we're about to speak with someone who's done all three of those things. They've found ways to overcome fear. They've built an amazing personal brand, and they've also built a business and an industry which helps business owners just like you marry your personal values and how you want to spend your life with how you run your business. His name is Travis Bell, and he's on the screen right now. He is the bucket list guy. He's the author of the best-selling book. It's called The Bucket List, yeah?
Yeah, My Bucket List Blueprint. There it is.
Bucket List Blueprint. He's the creator of the Bucket List Business Plan, the Certified Bucket List Coach. He's got certified bucket list coaches in 22 countries. Yep. I've known him for a bunch of years when we used to tread the boards at professional speaking events together. And it's a real pleasure to have you here. How are you, mate?
Buddy, yeah, great to be on, James. Thanks for having me, mate.
Now, just before I hit record, we were talking about this this concept of fear. We were talking about this concept of getting a little bit crazy. What is one of the crazier things that you've done while living your bucket list life?
Mate, I've been the bucket list guy for over 10 years, so I've chalked up a few. Look, I did one not too long ago, and it was actually on my bucket list, believe it or not. See, the real quick backstory is I've had a list to do before I die, actually written down since I was 18. I don't know, picked it up in an early Tony Robbins book or something like that, and I wrote it down. And it was only about 10, 11 years ago before I put on my first public talk, and someone at the end of that called me the bucket list guy. And that's when I went home and registered the domain name, thebucketlistguy.com, right?
Yeah.
And so for the last 10 years, I've been doing my bucket list. And for all those business owners out there, my bucket list has, because I've turned it into a business, my bucket list has been a tax deduction.
Smart. Get to do
so my accountant
always wanted to do.
My accountant still says to this day, Trav, you're not as dumb as you look, mate. yeah, all right. But so I did one. I'm always looking to. I think the human experience is about seeing your own potential, experiencing your own potential. You know, and I say on the other side of your bucket list is a you that you don't know yet.
Yeah,
right? That's your potential. When a lot of people. You know, one of the quotes that I'm quoted on the most is people are dying at 40 and being buried at 80.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, I'm always looking to do my own stunts, so to speak, and be the example for others to follow. Not trying to be a Red Bull sponsored athlete here or anything like that. But sure, I've done toe-in surfing, but I'm a surfer, so that's not much of a stretch. But I think I did one about... was in March, and it was a stand-up comedy gig. And you may know the crew at the School of Hard Knocks there in Melbourne, and you do this comedy course that you and I, mate, we're public speakers. I've done a TED talk. I've spoken all around the world. No worries. 5 minutes of trying to make people funny, where technically
trying to make people laugh. Yeah,
you're trying to make, and you're meant to get a laugh, supposedly a laugh every 15 seconds.
15, man,
shitting myself. So I had all kinds of fear around this because I really wanted to be good at it, not just like I don't give a shit if they laugh at me or with me. I don't care. Joke's a joke, and so. Signed up to this course, and this is after a whole bunch of people have recommended it, and It was literally on my bucket list for over 8 years. I just put it off, excuses. No, time's not right, whatever. And all the decks cleared. I had nothing, no other excuses coming out of lockdowns, and like, all right, let's go. Let's shake this shit up. Did it. I've put it on my YouTube channel. It's a bit X-rated, but put 5 minutes together, and I was so relieved that I had it done. So this
Did you get laughs? I'm dying to watch
my
it.
whole family were there too. Like my 4 kids were there and everything. And I'm talking about all sorts of shit.
Wow, that's crazy. Well, let's unpack that. Because as I said, you as a career or as a profession, you're doing things that other people might freak out a little bit about. Now, it's funny that I said, have you done anything crazy? And I was expecting you to say something dangerous. And the thing that came out of your mouth was a real fear. Was a real fear. Now, I've heard, was it Jerry Seinfeld said, more people are afraid of professional speaking than death?
No, he said that but most people would rather be in the box than give the eulogy.
Yeah, that's right. You and we do stage speaking all the time.
Yeah.
But however, comedy was obviously terrifying. It's a totally different dynamic. Totally. Run it down. What are some of the things that you did to overcome the fear right from the beginning?
Well, this is not a fake Zoom background. This is actually a real background of real books. I've read any of them, but it makes me look smart. But where is it? Here we go. Susan Jeffers. Feel the fear and do it anyway.
Ah, wow.
So, a spoiler alert, you don't have to read it. Read the front cover.
Feel the fear and do it anyway. That's it. That's the tip.
No, but we all, we've all got, it depends on how big your why is. When the why is strong enough, the how will work itself out. If you want to do something on your bucket list, and there's a lot of fears, I always get people to give me their level of inspiration out of 10, like how bad do you want to do something? Because it's normally not a matter of resources, it's a matter of resourcefulness. And if you want to really do something, and this could be ask a girl out, ask a guy out, you start a new business, do a public talk, start a YouTube channel, whatever it might be, there's always that fear roller coaster that we go through. And it's baby steps and breaking it all down and start, doing the first thing. And here's the thing, I always say this as a coach, I always look, give me another example of where you've overcome fear in your life. All right. It could have been asking your partner out for the first time. It could have been having kids. It could have been buying your first home. Was there fear? Because it's the same psychological roller coaster. You've already done it before. Most people have done something in regards to fear. Just map that over into this thing.
So I'm busy taking
and prove to yourself, you've proven to yourself that you can do it. You have done it. So what's wrong with just mapping that over into this new thing?
So I've been busy taking notes here. And one, there's actually 3 things that you said there. One is the why needs to be strong. So if you can remind yourself why it is that you're doing something, that obviously is going to encourage you to do it more. If you're at the gym and you're thinking, I'm doing this for my kids, you're about to go home, and then you suddenly think, I'm doing this for my kids, you'll stay a little bit longer, right? Yeah. The other thing is that you said, what is the first thing? So one of the first things that you would have done is you would have researched the speaking gig, and then you would have booked it. And when you booked it, that would have been the second thing, and you invested. By the way, did you tell people publicly that this is what you were going to do?
No, I see the backstory in terms of the bucket list guy or the...
No, the speaking gig. When you booked the speaking gig.
The comedy or the
comedy
gig?
Sorry, the comedy gig. Yeah, the comedy gig. Did you tell people I'm going to do a comedy gig?
Yeah, because so backstory. I spent 20 plus years in the personal fitness training industry. The best way to lose weight?
Tell people you're going to lose weight?
Go into Facebook and tell everyone.
Yeah, exactly. Announce it.
Public humiliation is huge for social accountability. So now, because I'm on podcasts all the time and I've been talking about, I've got over 350 things on my bucket list, on my to-do bucket list, and I've done probably the equal amount on my what I call reverse bucket list, which is my done list. And so I'm always sharing stories, and as you know, we're speakers, and I'm always sharing stories about what's on my list. I'm not like going out going, oh, I'm this champion who overcomes any fear and this sort of thing. I'm like, I'm as real as you, and I'm doing this with you. And I've done stuff with people. Like I've taken people to do Kokoda and Machu Picchu and Mount Everest Base Camp, and I've done all sorts of things with my community, my tribe, right? So Dickhead here, he goes, for years and years and years, I've been saying, yep, going to do a stand-up comedy gig. And then all these other people, like my tribe members, have gone, Trav, when are you going to do yours?
When are you going to do
yours? So
you announced it.
Self-imposed public peer pressure that I've created for myself. And just and a mate of mine did this same course that I did, and then as at the end of the course, you graduate and you do a public, you
got to get up on stage
gig, and mate of mine did it, and I know the guy that runs the course, and he's like, well, when are you? I had him on my podcast, and he's like, when are you going to do it, Trav?
And you got to do it.
And I publicly on my own podcast, I went,
it's time. Well, I'm going to, there's 3 take homes there. One is how big is your why? Know your why. The other one is announce it. The third one is you actually talk about comparables, because comparables give you perspective. And it is funny that we talk about the Jerry Seinfeld thing. People are more afraid of speaking than they are of death. When you put things in comparison, how real is the threat here? And people go, well, it's not real.
Yeah.
That's cool. Guys and gals, I learned something about fear then, but what I really learned is how interesting it is that somebody who is such a great performer, jumps up on the stage, does it all the time, was afraid of comedy. We are all authentic and real and vulnerable in our own ways. Now, the second question that I wanted to ask you is, you are the bucket list guy, and you mentioned that it was 10 years ago that somebody said, hey, you're the bucket list guy, and you went and registered the domain. Now, I'm absolutely positively certain that people come to you all the time and they go, Trav, how can I be like you? How can I build my personal brand? How can I build my authority? How can I become known for something?
Yeah, well, first of all, you go and get hand tattoos.
Well, that's announcing it, isn't it?
Yeah, and you go and get the word bucket list put on your hands, and that doesn't come off shit.
Sorry, Mum.
So this is all manufactured. So this is nothing has happened by default. So I spent the last 20 years in the personal, or 20 years before that in the personal training industry. It was the first to franchise personal training studios in Australia. Did that out of Melbourne. Grew up from one client to tens of thousands of clients around Australia. All good. Went through, let some not so nice people into my life, went down a bit of a downward spiral, ended up with a mild depression, albeit mild compared to what I've heard since. But instead of going on heavy antidepressants and putting a Band-Aid over what I was going through, I wanted to get to the root cause of what I was going through. So I went to all the courses, walked on fire, did ayahuasca, went to Burning Man, the whole bit. And about 2 years into that journey, and I really worked through some personal stuff. And a friend of mine said, we were sitting in like an NLP course or something, and he said, Trav, why don't you teach this shit? And I went, boom, light bulb moment. And I was at that. Tim Ferriss had just come out with his 4-hour freaking work week. And and here I was with all these corporate like leases around Australia, gyms and that sort of thing. And here's Tim Ferriss running shit from a hammock in Thailand. I'm like, that business was nice. And that's one of the things I've done on my bucket list, is actually met and had lunch with Tim Ferriss, which is cool.
Wow.
And then this whole online world, and you were, I think you were heavily involved in Anthill back in the
day,
back in the day, and yourself were pioneers at all this, and so I'm like, that represented freedom to me. What does this look like for me? So I went, you know what, I'm going to put on a talk, because I saw a speaker by the name of Alan Weiss. And
that name, who's that?
Yeah, he's a brash New Yorker, and I saw him present at the National Speakers Conference years and years and years ago. And I was sitting next to David Staunton and Warwick Merry, who you know, And
Yep.
I'm sitting there and I saw this Alan Weiss had no tech, no whiteboards, no nothing. And he just had us all laughing. He had us all crying, all within the same. And I just looked at this guy and I went, and he was really good. And I'm like, if I can do that, I can do anything in life.
Mm.
And that's when I went, you know what, I love helping people, you know, coaching, speaking as a coach, you know, coaching one to many basically. And I went, you know what, I'm going to put on a talk. So I put on a talk, nearly had to pay the 40 people to come to that talk. And it was all my mates, my fam, you know, some family. And I unpacked, because I've always worked for myself. I've never had a job in my life. And I put all my entrepreneurial stuff, all the stuff that I just learned about mindset and life coaching and all that stuff, and put on a talk, and it was shit. And I was so scared. It was probably one of the most fearful things I've ever done. Put together this talk, and about halfway through, I started sharing my list to do before I die. And I surveyed the room. I went, who else has got one of these lists to do before you die actually written down? It was like, nah, donuts. I'm like, shit, I'm the only freak in the room. Well, why? And I'm like, why do you get up in the morning? You know, why do you grow your business? What's your why? What? I don't get it. I just literally do not get it. I still don't get it. Like, why are you building? And most people say in Australia, especially, pay off the house, put the kids through school, do a bit of trouble when I'm older and possibly sicker. But what else? And I started sharing some of the stories. And then Joe, one of the participants, said right at the end, hey, how's all this list to do before you die stuff? It's like a bucket list. You're like the bucket list guy. I went, ping, light bulb moment, went home, registered the domain name. I was on the Google machine and going, oh, who's like the Mac Daddy? Who's like the king of bucket lists in the world? Oh, no one. So I called myself the world's #1 bucket list expert.
I love it. I'm writing some take homes here, and I'm going to share them. And then I want you to get practical with me for a second. And
Sure.
I want you to tell me some of the practical things that you've done, like registering the domain. But some of my take homes here are: one, Trav has a very clear, authentic connection to the problem that he solves. And I've noticed this as a common thread among people that do develop their own personal brand, a very authentic connection to the problem that they solve. And one day you're going to have to tell me about that 2 years of self-analysis and deep diving and what it was like popping those plants. The second thing that when you were talking about the people on the stage, you're talking about Tim Ferriss, Alan Weiss, Tim Ferriss, the other people. This is another noticeable thread. You'll probably know the saying. It's something like, when the student is ready, the master will appear. Something like that. When the student is ready, the master will appear. Yeah. What I've noticed is that a lot of people that are really good at what they do, like you, they surround themselves with other human beings. It's kind of like having a human scrapbook. And sometimes we don't know those people. We read their books or we go to their events. And I know people have these, like, they have dream boards, and they write on their dream boards. I've noticed that people like yourself, and I do this myself in my own way. We have our own sort of like private human dream boards where we map out all the people that we find interesting or inspiring. There is a mindset of people out there that are conditioned to try and drag those people down. They see people that have done better, they want to drag them down. We go, no, how can I learn from you? Or as Jim Rohn once said, you're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And you've gone from seeing someone on stage to making these people your friends. 100%. The third thing that I'm just going to say, we've got an authentic connection to the problem. We've got the human dream board. And the third one is just know your niche, know your niche. You've nailed your niche.
Yeah, look, that's the thing. Like pre-internet, the Tony Robbins of the world and the other, they had Jack Canfield, they had in that space, they had a lot of street cred already. But I knew, and I call it a unique, unicorn personal brand. And where I didn't have a lot of money. And I'm like, you know what? I've got the power of social media. I can be on this all day, every day. And I'm going to take the Subway approach here. So Subway's marketing, Subway sandwiches, marketing plan is to open up as close to Macca's as possible.
Wow.
As close to Macca's as possible. That's it. And be the healthy alternative. That's it. So I'm sure there's a little bit more detail in there, but it's basically that, because they've done all the research. So when I landed on Bucket List, I wanted a brand that was so congruent with who I was. There's no cognitive dissonance between who I am and my brand. So the Bucket List is me, my values, which is your internal rule book, my values out in the world. It's who I am. It's given me license to be who I am. The fact that I get paid well to talk about it and inspire other people through it. And mate, unfortunately, as you know, I'm no different to who I am now to who I am in real life. This is me. This is bad luck. But I think that's the holy grail, to get to be who you are out there in the world. There's no persona, there's no mask, and you get paid well for it, and it makes you happy. So the Bucket List was a unique personal brand that is me out there in the world. And to be honest, I wanted to think, because I didn't do a lot of travel, and like my bucket list, because I was growing my other business, I'm like, speaking. So what they do is they keynote speak it. They get business class flown around the world, and normally they're doing these conferences in 5-star locations around the world. And you get paid how much per hour? I don't want to do 40 hours a week. Okay, so I get, basically for one speech, you get paid a month's salary.
Yeah, I know.
Like, hey, this is cool. So I can just rock up, do a gig, get paid, and then just go and do my bucket list. Yep.
Sounds like a win. Well, let's extend this out into the broader, bigger picture for the largely business owners that are listening to this or watching this. So you mentioned before that you've got the certified bucket, or I introduced you as someone who's put together the certified bucket list coach program. You're also the creator of the bucket list business plan. I know more recently you created a product for people that want to elevate their personal brand. Incidentally, what's that called?
That's called the Bucket List Business Plan. So
cool.
I've had a lot of people, like I've been the Bucket List guy for over 10 years now, and I've had a lot of people go, I want to help a lot of people. And Action Coach actually, the business coaching franchise, they invited me down to speak at their global conference in South Africa. And then Brad, the founder, said, have you thought about licensing out what you do? Like we do with Action Coach. And I went, because they're in like 70 plus countries around the world and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, this is my thing, because I was burnt. Some of my eyes was ripped off in my personal training. And he's like, I think you're onto something. It's kind of like life coaching, but without saying life coaching, right? Because, you say you're a life coach.
Yeah.
And I said, I do want to help more people. He said, all right, well, maybe, you should think about it. So it didn't take me long, thought about it. And 3.5 years later, we've got certified bucket list coaches teaching my stuff in 22 countries around the world in a bunch of languages, which is pretty cool. And
so it's the coaches that are teaching it, and their students go through the bucket list business plan process.
Yeah. Some people don't want to be a certified bucket list coach and teach my stuff. They want to do their own. So, I help people with a story. They might have done a breakdown before breakthrough, or a tragedy to triumph kind of thing. There's some amazing stories trapped within people, and I love helping them get those stories out there and then helping other people through those stories, because inadvertently, I think anyone who's been through stuff and come out the other side, I reckon there's a book in them, there's a program in them, there's a speech in them. And I love helping them get that out. I think it's extremely cathartic both for them and for me. I love helping people do that.
If we're thinking about business and values alignment, you just mentioned the story. Most of us have a story. And incidentally, before, when we were talking about personal branding, we did talk about being aware of your authentic connection to the problem that you solve. But if I'm going to pull together a bucket list business plan, what are 2 or 3 things that you would recommend me get on top of so that I can find alignment between my business and my values?
Oh, look, that's a good, unique personal brand. So it starts from there, and then you build an expert ecosystem around that. not trying to be everything to everyone. The fastest path to cash for most people is actually just coaching clients. And most of those coaching clients are like you. They're like you 5 years ago. So if you do an about face and look at you 5 years ago, that's normally you're coaching your former self. Right. And that I say the fastest path to cash from a business point of view, it's easier to land one-on-one clients than say put together a group of clients, and let alone to land speeches, but when it comes to speeches, we're all on that, if you've got a great message and it's inspirational, and again, stealing from our speaking colleagues, all speakers have to be motivational speakers. No matter what you're speaking about, you've got to motivate people, inspire people to pick up the tools that you're helping them with, and then move them in the direction that they want to go. So I reckon if that's an itch that people want to scratch, just spoiler alert, that itch will get worse and worse and worse if you don't do something about it. If you want to get out there and help people, the rubber's got to meet the road at some stage. And a lot of people do want to do a TED talk or a book. A book is on a lot of people's bucket list. And I run these monthly Build Your Bucket List challenges, and a lot of people go through those and they want to do a talk, or they want to do a book, and they want to help people and have that, pay it forward kind of mentality. So I love helping people do that. But it goes coaching, speaking, authoring, in that order, and then building out that ecosystem. And people come into your world for different reasons, and but it's really cool when they start to build a tribe. Whether it's Tribe 1000 goal of getting 1,000 people around you and around your message, and creating these ambassadors around your brand and all that sort of thing. And it's pretty cool. Like when people get, start to see that momentum, and I help some really good people who have got really full-on messages that just need to be out there helping people.
Yeah.
And that's so cool. Like I said, cathartic for them when they start helping people through their message. And
it clearly means a lot to you as well too. So I'm going to be as practical as possible. If you want to go out there and do what Travis does, or if you want to get closer to aligning what it is that you do in business as a consultant, a couple tips there. The best things to be training and teaching is where you were at 5 years ago. It's interesting that you said that. I immediately went, you know what? That is largely what I'm teaching, what I was doing 5 years ago. 5 years ago, I was probably teaching and training what I was doing 5 years before that. Absolutely right. Start with one-on-one clients. You can get up to like 5 to 10 clients before it gets overwhelming, at which point you can start doing group stuff. If you begin to distill your ideas into a process, a methodology, that can become a book. The book is often what will start to win you some of those speaking gigs.
Yeah.
And it's a process. I know that most business owners or aspiring business owners are impatient, and that's great. But however, get to be the best in your industry, like Trav, you need the patience. But what I am going to say to finish up on, is you do have that challenge. You do that challenge once a month. I'm going to try and get a link off you to put somewhere near this recording so people can get into it.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I love about a challenge, firstly, it's a single step. You start to do it. It's a single step. I don't know if you mind me saying this, Trav, but it's like task-otainment. It's like you do one thing and you get this dopamine hit, and then you do another thing. And if you can see this goal, which might be those 1,000 members of your tribe, there you are. You can see the goal. You're working towards it while you're getting those little hits. So if it's okay with you, Travis, I'm going to put a link somewhere near this video. That'll
sure,
cool.
Man. Yeah. Love helping however I can.
Any final words of wisdom for the people out there, the business owners out there that you suspect might not be living their complete, full, best life, or they expect, or they see something missing?
And here's where you come in, mate. And this, I think, I wouldn't be on here if I didn't respect what you do and what you've done. I say a bucket list is a tangible life plan, where your business plan or your career plan needs to fit into your life plan and not be the other way around. So what James teaches here, you know, and his crew, like, is optimizing this vehicle, you know, that's leveraged, that should, when optimized, should spit out the cash flow and also the time flow to allow you to do your bucket list, to live your bucket list now rather than wait until someday or the perfect time, because there is no perfect time. There is no someday. Time is ticking. Get around James and the team and make sure that you're optimizing this vehicle and hurry the hell up. You know, when you've got this bucket list breathing down your neck and it's all mapped out for you, then it has a direct ripple effect, a waterfall effect into you getting a sense of hurry up and building this thing and making decisions, hiring new people, getting good coaches around you to build this vehicle as fast as you possibly can.
As I said, it takes time. So hurry the F up is what you would say if you were on stage. Travis said it before. Most people die when, was it? They die in
People
their,
are dying at
40,
40 and being buried at 80.
Dying in 40, buried at 80. Don't let that be you. Find the link that's somewhere around this. Thank you so much, Travis.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.